week. This isn't going to be a regular episode. Clearly, if you read the title and listened through the intro, this episode is all about the Outer Worlds and what we might be expecting to see come this fall. And there is no section at the end where I'm going to go over new patrons and thank people for writing reviews and extend our story or any of that stuff, because I'm recording this early. I don't have that information yet. I just want to make sure that I get something out there for you guys, because I might be busy this coming week, which would be now for you, because time and the future and all of those things. So what am I doing talking about the Outer Worlds? Well, there's been a lot of anticipation for this game for a few reasons. Most importantly, probably, is the fact that it is developed by Obsidian Entertainment. And I'm going to go into why that's important and why that has the Fallout community excited about this entry, and over some of the details that we know about the game so far. Now, if there's enough interest in this game, then this might actually turn into a regular extra little section I do in between regular episodes. If I'm able to release extra content every week, then I might do an extra, Outer Worlds lorecast. And who knows, maybe this could turn into its own actual real grown-up big kid podcast in the future. We'll just have to see. So before we get too much into the speculation and rabbit trails, let's just go into some of the details. Now, I've pulled up the Wikipedia article on Obsidian Entertainment because I want to give you guys some background on this development studio and why they are important to the Fallout community. So let's just dive into it. It says here, Obsidian Entertainment Incorporated is an American video game developer based in Irvine, California. Founded in June of 2003, shortly before the closure of Black Isle Studios. You guys remember Black Isle Studios? By ex-Black Isle employees Fergus Urquhart, I don't know how to pronounce your name, and Chris Avallone. You might recognize that if you listen to the show at all. Chris Parker, Darren Monahan, and Chris Jones. Although they have created original intellectual property, many of their games are sequels based on licensed properties. Early projects include Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, Neverwinter Nights 2, both sequels to BioWare developed games. The team then developed their first original game, Alpha Protocol, in 2010. I don't know if you guys remember playing through that, but it was very story-focused. It was a little bit incomplete, but had a lot going on in the characters and dialogue and those kinds of things. Other notable works from Obsidian include Fallout New Vegas, Dungeon Siege 3, which I'm not sure if you guys remember that one, and South Park: The Stick of Truth. All licensed properties. So, Fallout New Vegas, the long story short of this is, some of the original developers who worked on Fallout 1 and or Fallout 2 moved on to found Obsidian Entertainment. Black Isle Obsidian, I guess they like the whole dark black thing. And within a few years after founding that, were put to work on Fallout New Vegas as a continuation of Fallout stuff pretty quickly after Fallout 3. And a lot of the Fallout community really loves Fallout New Vegas because of the story and the characters. And that is what Obsidian Entertainment is most known for. If anything, they are known for really interesting story, really interesting characters, really interesting choices that the player gets to make. But usually their games are a little bit unfinished on the technical end, almost like their goals outreach their technical ability to achieve them. And that seems to happen over and over and over again. Star Wars Knights of the Republic 2 was released too early. It was well known that that game wasn't actually complete, but I remember going through that game and getting almost all the way through it and really enjoying it at the time. Fallout New Vegas had a lot of technical problems at launch. Yeah, you can joke, it's a Bethesda game, quote unquote, and it was published by Bethesda, but it had a lot more issues than Fallout 3 did, partly because of the systems and the things that were built into it were a little bit more complex than Fallout 3. But the hope is here that the Outer Worlds will be a little bit different, and I'm going to explain to you why some of what they're doing with the Outer Worlds would lead me to believe that. So let's get into what is the Outer Worlds. What is this new franchise? It is not based off of any previous works. This is not a continuation of the Fallout universe or anything like that. It is its own story, its own place, its own adventures, future world, that kind of thing. Now there is a PCGamer.com write-up that answers a lot of the questions and goes over a lot of the things that we know so far about this game. So I'm going to link to that in the show notes, and I'm going to quote a few of the sections in this specifically because they do such a good job answering this, and I recommend go check out the rest of the article, give them some website traffic, and I do appreciate the information that they're sharing here that I'm able to then share with you guys. So, what is the story premise of the Outer Worlds? What is the setting? And the setting here is that your character was on a ship transporting humans to the newly formed Halcyon colony, a duo of planets on the edge of the galaxy. The ship got lost on the way, which means you've been in cryosleep for 70 years. That should be too long for you to survive, but somehow, a scientist has managed to awaken you, and he wants your help saving your fellow frozen travelers. So, obviously this is in the future or in some other universe altogether. Traveling...
There's a 14-minute slowdown in 800 meters. You are still on the fast...
Let's see, cryosleep, future technology, that sort of thing. And goes on to say, you can choose to help him or immediately turn him into the corporate authorities. The whole colony and everything in it is run and owned by various... They've also noted that you can complete quests in multiple different ways. So this idea of building out your character how you want, employing fighting or sneaking or being a smooth talker, somebody who can work their way through a situation, pick the locks, that kind of thing, is very much part of the way this game will play out. Now the article goes on to explain that you can customize your character with skills, perks, and quote-unquote flaws. And here's what they mean. It says you have 6 main skills, strength, intelligence, etc., that you can dump points into, and each one goes up to 100. Those skills will directly affect what happens in the game. For example, melee weapons will have a damage range, and the higher your melee skill, the more damage you'll deal. You'll be able to distribute your points to create different character archetypes, such as one that is good at sneaking, or a firearms expert. Your skills will also impact what dialogue options you'll get to choose, and just like the creators' previous games, you can choose a dumb dialogue option if you have the right stats. Yes, you're going to have to make a dumb character. Some comic relief. For every 20 points you put into a skill, you get to pick a perk. Obsidian hasn't detailed what any of the perks will do, but it should be a chance to further customize your character to fit your playstyle. So far, pretty similar in ways to Fallout, but yet different. One of the more unique things about the Outer Worlds is that you can pick up optional negative traits called flaws as you move about the world. These relate to specific events. If you're burned in a fire, for example, you might be given the option to become afraid of flames. This is amazing. You'll be limited to how many flaws you can pick up, but every time you choose one, you also get to pick a perk to balance it out. Holy crap, I'm going to have a dumb character that's afraid of everything. This is going to be great. You can customize your character's appearance too, though the game is played first person. You'll see yourself in the menus, and if you die, basically. Or, no, I guess if you leave the game idle. Maybe if you die. It doesn't say that there. I just kind of figured maybe there was a pin camera that moved away from you or something. But they didn't note that. That's just my imagination. Also, don't worry, Fallout 4 haters. I don't know, not haters is strong. People who didn't like Fallout 4 because of the character voice being in the game. This game will not have a voiced protagonist, but dialogue is still extremely important. Now, what about the combat? How does the combat work? Well, I'm going to go into this in the future, potentially. This might be one of those things that we can dig into in the future, but the combat looks really cool. And the way the game works in general, it is built on the Epic engine, but the way the characters walk, the way the camera zooms in when characters talk, even some of their reactions in combat feel very, very Fallout to me. It's almost like they used that as a starting point in setting up animations, in camera panning, and those kinds of things, and you can see it in the trailer. Also, the weapons seem very diverse and kind of futury and interesting. Lots of different kinds of electric-looking fire, ammo, lasers, you know, that kind of stuff. Also, one of the things you'll notice in the trailer is that there is a very quick scene of your character attacking another character with some sort of beam that then shrinks that character about half the size. So I don't know how that works, but maybe there are weapons that can do some really cool effects on other things in the environment or the creatures and those kinds of things. So we'll just have to wait and see more about that. Now, let's see. What else do you guys have questions about? You probably are wondering, are there companions? And the answer to that is yes. There will be companions in this game, and they can abandon you, and they have their own unique missions. Now, it is also said that the developers considered a romance option with companions, but they've decided against that. This isn't going to turn into Dragon Age or or Mass Effect or anything like that. But that's still an interesting thing to have companions. I think that's going to open up the potential of the way you play through this game and some of the story creation things you can do with it. Also, the one last thing that they go over in the PC Gamer article is the question about if the Outer World will have mods. And the Epic Unreal Engine 4 is kind of playing, has something to do with this. Technically, right now, they don't have that situation. I don't know if they have to negotiate something with Epic in order to allow mods, or if that's something that the engine specifically has to be designed to be more palatable towards before they officially promote that idea. But for right now, at launch, they're not planning a mod kit. But you never know. There could be things in the future that allow them to do things differently. So that's what we know so far about the game. The game will launch in October 25th this year, so just a few months off. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I have a feeling I will probably do a few more of these quick little update episodes and kind of throw them in the feed in order to get you guys excited about this, because I'm excited about it, and I have a feeling if this is a great game that a lot of the Fallout community will be trying it out and will have opinions about it. So we'll just have to see, and we'll go from there. As new news comes out, I might detail that on the show as well. So keep your ears open. If you hear anything else out about this game, or see any cool gameplay, or find any cool links about it, send them my way. I would love to check them out. And I'm going to head out and talk to you guys next week. Next week I will catch up on all of the ratings and reviews and all the new news. New news? Is that redundant? All the news, which is by definition new. And I'll see you guys next week. So have a wonderful week. Talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening to the Fallout Lorecast. All sounds and music are owned by Bethesda Softworks, and no copyright infringement is intended. If you have something you'd like to contribute to the show, please contact us at falloutlorecast@gmail.com, or follow us and post some messages to us on Twitter @FalloutLorecast. And if you'd like to support the show, tell a friend, or check out the rewards you can get for becoming a patron at patreon.com/FalloutLorecast. I really appreciate you listening, and I'd love to hear from you soon.
In a world where solid-state electronics and vacuum tubes are still meta, people never stopped loving atomic-powered everything. A chosen 500 stepped inside a subterranean vault to be spared the nuclear horror of the inevitable Great War. 25 years later, they emerge after the fallout settles to retake Appalachia. Among them, two former rivals whose blood feud will tear West Virginia apart in their epic struggle for survival. Chad, a vault bro who has a strength of 15, an intelligence of 2, and is a complete wasteland dickhead. Simon, a complicated anti-hero who chooses light and hope, but accidentally becomes a cannibal and wakes up naked and afraid with a Scorch Beast queen after a date goes terribly wrong. What? I mean, it's a wild wasteland, right? This dark humor radio drama will have you driving off the road and crawling out from under the fallout. 2 men, 1 wasteland, and so many nukes. Chad, a Fallout 76 podcast, rated R, now streaming on your holotape player podcasting thing.
Hello.
Hi.
Do you like bad movies?
Do you find yourself defending bad movies, saying things like, well, the soundtrack was okay, or the costumes were pretty fun?
From the previous host of It's Not That Bad podcast, we bring you Fresh Tomatoes, the movie podcast, from Simone LaRue and Chad Eckerman.
Every week we review 2 movies that did not do well critically, but we say, hey, there's some nice things about them. Maybe Rotten Tomatoes was wrong.
Maybe they're all fools, and you should watch these movies regardless. We'll also talk about scenes that could have saved it, and we'll often refer to Simone's cats because they're amazing and adorable, and we love them.
And at the end of each review, we will tell you whether we would watch this movie again, or in what circumstances we would recommend you watch this movie.
So, join us on July 9th for the first drop of our main episode, and then 2 days later for our drop of our minisodes.
And on Robots Radio Podcast Network. Come see us on July 9th. We love you so much already. Bye.
The 1975, still at their very best, on tour across North America in 2023. Visit the1975.com to sign up for your early access to an exclusive fan presale beginning June 21st at 10 a.m.
The show is brought to you by our generous patrons at patreon.com/FalloutLorecast.
Robots Radio presents the Fallout Lorecast.
That was weird. Welcome to the Fallout Lorecast, a place for the Fallout community to come together to explore the boundaries of our knowledge about the world of Fallout. That's Craig. Have you met Craig?
I have not. I'm not acquainted with Craig. He has a nice little icon, though. Looks like a crazy bear. Respect that.
Yeah. He's got that now recording kind of voice.
His voice sounds very pre-recorded. Just throwing that out there.
Well, I think he is a robot. So.
Oh, okay. Craig's not a real person then. Okay.
No.
Craig is not the bear that I think he is, according to his icon.
Maybe he looks like a bear. I haven't met him in person.
Yeah, you know.
I mean, robots can look like all sorts of things.
That's what you get when you're part of the Robots Radio Network.
Hey, Wastelanders and Vault Dwellers. This is your host, Tom Robots, welcoming you back to a very special episode of the Fallout Lorecast. I have with me this week a guest that I have been wanting to interview on the show for quite some time.
That was going to be last night. I know, we're straight into it.
Deep and profound?
It's not very profound at all. I was watching, one of the things I think I've mentioned it before that I like watching is tennis players freaking out.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if you've ever mentioned that before, but it is a joy to watch these people have a meltdown.
They're
on
such
court.
babies. They are such babies. Like, one call goes against them. It's like 5 minutes of haranguing the umpire. And the guys, it's so stupid because they're down low and the guy's up on that little sort of chair like a lifeguard. looking down at them, and they're like just arguing. It's like arguing with God or something. It's so ridiculous.
I think there's like a two-pronged thing here. The thing is, like, what happens is when you get taxi drivers, someone like this who spends their entire life listening to like talk radio, they all of this information that's constantly, and they're talking to passengers all the time. They're constantly learning things, right? And so you sit down with a taxi driver and they always tell you something really interesting, but usually slightly wrong or like right wing, or do you know what I mean? Slightly weird.
Sorry, hold on a sec. We were talking about tennis umpires.
Whereas with tennis players, they've spent their entire life playing on a field, out in a tennis court, hitting a racket, not getting any educational information about the world, and therefore they have no fucking knowledge about how to behave as an adult.
But that should be true of every sport. That should be true of every sport.
Every
I don't know if it
sportsman
is.
I've ever met has specced fully into charisma and agility, and nothing in wisdom or intelligence. I swear to God. Do you remember when I met that footballer, England footballer, what was his name? Fucking Kyle Walker.
Right.
And he was the most awful man I think I've ever met in my life.
What? Really?
Okay, hang on a second.
He was just so...
Back up
when
one
did you
second
meet Kyle
here.
Walker?
When did you meet Kyle Walker from the England football squad?
When I did the Fallout 4 brand sponsorship deal where they wanted to appeal to the everyman, the FIFA crowd, the
so
COD
you met
players.
Kyle Walker, the footballer.
Yes,
and
England
and
international.
you thought he was an awful man?
He's got 75 caps. He's a legitimately good right back. Kept Mbappe in his pocket for much of that
I know,
game.
but he's an incredibly dull and weird and boring man. And I was awkward with him, obviously, because, he's like, who's this fucking nerd making jokes about dwarves and things, He didn't play along, really. He didn't get in on... And he was just not a nice guy, boring, uninteresting.
Well, not nice, like as in, was he rude? Was he mean?
He was a bit aloof.
Okay. I mean, he's an international superstar as well.
He wasn't smart enough to be rude.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? He's just
Kyle
too dull.
Walker called out within the first 5 minutes of the podcast.
Kyle, if you're listening, I know you probably are.
He's a big
I'm just
fan.
saying that,
He's on his own on this one.
I met some Olympians. God bless them. They were quite actually.
They were
fine.
nice. They were really
actually
nice.
fine. They were really, really nice. But again,
that was for the sports day vid that we did a while back. That was a good
actually,
stream.
they seemed really grown up, and they wouldn't slag off the umpire. But I feel like Kyle Walker would. I feel like he'd have an argument with the ref. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, that's standard footballer. That's what they do.
That's what they're trained to do.
Oh, so are they? So are you saying that part of a tennis player is to become a man-child?
No, I
to
just
argue these
I
points.
think
don't
tennis
think that
players
is.
more so than other sports are like the ultimate min-maxers. So I would say yes, they probably are coached somewhat in.
Let me ask you this:
heckling with the refs and
Do you
stuff.
think that if you heckle a ref, that's likely to go your way on the next decision, or he's going to spite you and vote against you again on the next
if you look
decision?
at someone like Nick Kyrgios, Australian player, famous for his tantrums on the court, alright? He makes John McEnroe look very tame by comparison. For older listeners like me, John McEnroe, you cannot be serious!
Yeah,
you cannot be that guy. He's now
McEnroe.
a well-regarded commentator and all the rest of it, but back in the day he was a
pivotal
brat.
moves that we know about are actually going around on TikTok. Do you know what I mean? Surprisingly, these quite iconic meltdowns from history are still pretty memorable even now.
Yeah. So here's my question anyway. I was just watching those meltdown bits, and one of the things you're not allowed to do is the audience or the crowd is not allowed to make a noise while the point is on. Like, they're meant to be quiet. So when the guy's about to serve, you're not allowed. If somebody goes, "Hey," they go, "Quiet, please." I'm
I think
well,
that's
hang on. There are only, as far as I can tell, 3 sports where that is a requirement: tennis, golf, and I guess snooker. I can't think of many others.
Darts.
You're telling me I'm going to take a penalty in football, and everybody's allowed to make as much noise as they like? I'm going to try and score something in rugby. I'm trying to make a conversion in rugby. They're going to say, "Crowd, everybody be quiet, please. Everybody be quiet. Shh, no talking." Why just these sports? And it occurred to me, obviously they're solo sports, so, I guess the idea is, let them concentrate, everybody be quiet. But one thing I read was that these sports, especially tennis and golf, were sort of the gentlemanly, sort of, the etiquette-based, not for the hoi polloi and the proles. This is for the gentle folk. But what the fuck, man? You're telling me you're a professional athlete, you do this all day, every day, and some noise when you're trying to play tennis is going to put you off. How come that's not putting off lads taking penalties?
I guess what people could do if they had enough of them was just not shut up, and they can't kick them all out.
Oh, they would. They would. They would
stand.
I think they would suspend the game. Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's actually against the rules. If you're in the crowd at tennis, you're not allowed to talk. When they all say quiet, please. They're quiet, please. If you didn't shut up, they boot you out. Yeah, they boot you out. And I'm just thinking, it's weird, isn't it? The crowd is not allowed to make a noise. At the end of the point, they're allowed to applaud. Well, why can't I shout when Kyrgios is served? Why can't we all cheer? What's different? Why? And tennis players are like, oh, someone coughed. Hold on. Oh, it's like, what's going on here? You're such a baby. You can't even serve with a noise in the background. It doesn't make sense. How come other athletes can do it and you can't? I just want to understand what's going on.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, when Carl Walker's tested his penalties, he's not having a crowd shouting at him, is he? No. Or do they play crowd noise when he does penalties?
I don't think Carl Walker's taken many penalties, but...
Well, he might, if it was a penalty shootout and it went deep enough...
I think he has taken
He might be called upon. But,
maybe.
He's got 75 caps for England. How many goals has he? I'm going to guess like 2. None! He's never scored for England.
How many caps do you have for England, Lewis? Out of interest. You got a lot to say about a guy who's very accomplished. I'm just asking.
What sport? Because I've been in the Minecraft Championship.
No, you haven't even though. Which one? I don't remember you ever being in a Minecraft Championship. Except for Race for the Wool, but that's you laid that one on for yourself. He laid it on himself.
Anyway, I want to talk about something as well because I saw something this week that hit the front page of Reddit, as it does periodically. Some whistleblower, military whistleblower. This comes out here from time to time.
This is the UFO thing, right?
Has announced that the US has some non-Earth
exotic materials, not of this Earth and not man-made.
Yeah, non-man-made.
That's the claim. Yeah.
Right.
Now, interestingly, this guy is not like he's not on the History Channel with wacky hair saying they built the pyramids, man. You know, he's like a relatively normal person, much like these airline pilots that came out. There's a lot of skeptics rightly pointing out things, you know, like eyewitness testimony is dog shit.
But again,
these guys can fly a plane, but they're not experts on viewing aerial phenomena, like all kinds of things like that. But this claim, I mean, I know that America, they had some hearing where they were like, we've got to open up. If you've got these files, we need to see them. They're in the public interest. We can't just say, oh, no, it's too secret for you guys. If something's happened, you've got to tell us about it. And so there might be something there, but I doubt it.
Well, I mean, okay. How do you feel about UFOs generally, Sims? So when I say UFOs, I mean aliens, not...
It's UAPs.
Right.
That's the more widely
what does that mean?
Unexplained aerial phenomena.
Oh, really? Okay, sure.
So, because unidentified flying object kind of implies flying saucers, but a UAP gives it a more generic, you know, it could be it's just an aerial phenomenon, we don't know what it is, and rather than saying it's a flying object, it might be something else. It might not be an object, it might just be a phenomenon of some kind. So I think it is probably a better term. So these UAPs that the US Navy, are they unsecretified? I've forgotten the word, so that's the best way I can find to put it.
Declassified.
Declassified, yeah.
Declassified, yeah.
Unsecretified, I think, is probably what they say.
I think that sounds better.
Yeah. The sort of footage and these guys saying, well, look at that thing and all this kind of stuff, but there's all kinds of things to do with parallax and something very low to the ocean looks like it's traveling much faster than it is, and things look different through a FLIR lens and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So a lot of it was sort of, in fact, I'm pretty sure we've spoken about this before, but in terms of this new stuff, one guy's come out, like Lewis says, and has said there's these exotic materials, and that he's saying, I think there was a British guy came out and said the same thing. He said, I don't know if we have an alien vessel in a hangar, but we've got objects, and we don't know where they came from, or who made them, but we found them. So it's an interesting one for sure.
How do you feel about it though? Like, how do you feel about it? Do you think it's real, Sid?
Yeah. What do you think, Sid?
I don't care if it's real or not, personally.
Really?
I really
don't. You don't care?
No, I don't.
But do you think it's real?
I'm not interested in it. I don't know what the big deal would be if it was real. Like, I don't know. Hold on. I don't know what people's expectation behind all this is. Like,
wait. You're saying that if it turned out we'd been visited by aliens and we had some remnants of their vessels, you're not interested?
I would find it like like interesting enough. If it was on the news, I would maybe read it or whatever. But
Are you fucking kidding me, dude? It's like the biggest question of all time.
Well,
aliens visiting Earth, and you're like, eh.
Kind of, yeah.
Oh my God.
I don't see why it's like really that huge of a deal. Like it would be like, okay, wow, you know, there's other life out there, but like. I'm assuming there just is other life out there anyway. Like, it's not.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Correct.
Like, it's not going to change.
Hold on. First of all, it changes
for me.
everything. It changes
like
everything.
What?
First of all, that we're not alone in the universe.
Okay.
Secondly, that these aliens, if they have come here, have figured out something that we thought previously it was like literal science fiction. There's no way that we could really think of a serious way to get from one place to another in enough time. That it wasn't like time dilated to fuck and you ended up going there and your entire civilization had died by the time you got back, all this kind of shit.
Well,
they've got some vessel that can travel between the stars.
And not only that, but there's an implication that they haven't destroyed us already. We're not at war with them, they're not hostile. There's also like the implication that they can, or at least want to communicate with us or are similar to us in some way.
They might be building up to that, like saying, we're going to check it out, we're going to see if they're ready, and then we'll come in and say, hey, look, there's this whole galactic community out there, you can be a part of it. Like, it would be the most fundamental shift imaginable for the entire species.
Okay, if some of that stuff happens, sure, but I don't think anything like that's gonna happen. Not in our lifetimes, anyway. I don't think it's, or even our kids' lifetimes. Like, I don't think anything like that is actually.
So what you're
gonna
saying
happen.
is that you don't actually think it's aliens?
Well, it might be, but I just don't care if it is or not. Like there's probably something out there, but
I'm stunned. I
just don't really give much of a shit.
Wow.
I think people get so bent out of shape about it. Like, you know, on this quest for truth or whatever. It's like, okay, fine. Like, if there is something out there, who cares? Like,
God.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is that basically, yes, because this like UFOs Reddit community and stuff.
Yeah.
It feels like there's this huge bunch of people who
they're like, we're so close, we're gonna find out. It's like, who gives a shit? It's like, it doesn't matter. It's not gonna change your life at all. You're still just gonna be some nerd posting on Reddit. Like, you're just gonna find some other shit to put your tinfoil hat on about. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't matter.
I do not. I am not accepting a you know what I mean. I do not know what you mean. I am absolutely stunned.
This is why we have the 3 dissenting points on this podcast.
No, of course. That's what makes, if we all just went, yes, that's interesting, then this would be a UFO podcast or UAP podcast.
Wait, so you're actually really interested in UFOs? Like, you read up about them?
Here's the problem.
For example.
Right. That's what I can't believe.
I don't read up about any of that stuff.
So I don't read up about it. If there's a story about it that seems credible, I'll read it, and I'm interested. I mean, I'm fascinated to think that, first of all, I am a massive skeptic when it comes to the idea that we will ever travel at faster than light and get between places and warp speed and all that shit. I really don't think we'll get there. Right. I think the distance between our star and other stars is so fucking vast, and we're just not built for it. Our brains aren't built for it, our bodies aren't built for it, our lifespan is too short, and I just think in terms of the resources and everything as we understand physics, it would be so costly to get a ship full of people from one place to another at a decent percentage of the speed of light that it would be worth the journey.
Yeah.
And there's nothing near us that we've seen where we're like...
nightmare. I mean, we are these fleshy lumps that need a very small temperature range to survive. And, you know, we'll have to bring all our fucking cows with us.
Right.
And we'll have to bring all that other shit with us.
Yeah.
And, you know, and the radiation, the cosmic radiation constantly bombarding us, so we're going to have this massively thick hull in order to try and survive. And
Not to mention that even
difficult.
Traveling at that speed, even in space, the vacuum of space, there are, like, little molecules knocking about, like 1 per meter cubed or something, just be one little rogue hydrogen atom drifting about. If you're traveling at the speed of light, those things are hitting the front of your ship so fast that even those tiny molecules are building up heat on the front of your vessel. So there's so much technology that we'd have to figure out that we're just like, wow, how would we even do that? If someone has done that, and they are our neighbors, and have found us, which is in itself a miracle, that they have found us on this little twisty arm of our fucking galaxy.
Even since broadcasting radio, our radio waves over the last 100 years have only gone to about, 100 stars or something, or 1,000 stars.
Yeah, and
we've
looked at those.
It might be more, but
we've looked at those pretty closely with a big telescope, and there's fucking out there. Like, most of the ones we found we're like, well, that planet does have water. They found one the other day. This planet the other day. I watch a lot of science stuff, and I read a lot of science stuff.
Yeah.
Not UFO stuff, but stuff
No.
that they've actually concrete science.
Yes.
Right, but the thing is,
I'm interested enough in that. Like, I like finding out about planets that could sustain life or whatever. I believe in all that stuff, and I
right,
find
but
it
why
interesting.
are you interested in that? That's not going to affect your life.
No, but it's interesting enough. Like, if I'm bored, I'll read about it. Like, it is interesting because it's, you know, other planets. Like, I'm as interested in that as I'm interested in, like, the other planets of our solar system, which is to say